Ladies and gentlemen, honorable speakers, guests, students, and all participants, we kindly request to all of you to be seated and ready on screen, because in a few minutes, our international webinar will be started. Okay, you are kindly requested to activate your camera and mute your microphone during this webinar, so this event can be running well and smoothly. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. I am Tuti Nuryati as your Master of Ceremony today. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable speakers, guests, students, and all participants, Faculty of Economic and Business Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya collaborates with University Teknologi Mara, proudly present an international seminar on collaboration, Universitas Bhayangkara and University Teknologi Mara, the urgency of carbon tax implementation, Tuesday, October 10, 2023. Good morning to all of you. May peace be upon us. Broadcasting live from Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya, Indonesia, using virtual platform. You can also access this webinar on YouTube channel at Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya. Let's join and get a valuable and useful knowledge from this webinar. In this occasion, we are honored to welcome Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya, Dr. Dewi Puspaningtyas Faini, DC MBA, and all key officials from Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya, and Dr. Nurhaliza Ismail, Head Faculty of Business and Management Center of Studies, and all key officials from University Teknologi Mara, Cawangan, Johor, Malaysia. We are honored to welcome our speakers today. First, Professor Dr. Anders Wilson Bangun, MSc.
Yes, I'm ready, Bu Sayadi.
Thank you, Dr. Prof. Wilson. He is from Universitas Maranatha, Indonesia. And also Professor Dr. Made SEMAK from Universitas Bhayangkara. Good morning, Prof. Made. Okay. And from UITM, Dr. Rosmawati Harun. Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Rosmawati Harun.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
Thank you for coming. And also Dr. Juliana Mohammed Abdul Qadir from UITM. Good morning, Dr. Juliana. Is coming. Okay. Okay, we continue. Okay, all webinar lecturers and participants from attending universities, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your joining us. Honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, please kindly adapt accordingly to respect Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, and also National Anthem from Malaysia, Negaraku. Thank you, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pray together to express our blessing and gratitude to Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. This prayer will be led by Dr. Yayan Hendayana, SAMM. Time is yours, Mr. Yayan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, the honorable ladies and gentlemen. Let us bow our head for a moment. Pray to God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala so that our international webinars can be precious to all of us. I will lead this prayer based on the teaching of Islam. And those not Muslim, you are pleased to pray according to his of your beliefs. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Hamdan yu'affi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u majdah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu fa yang bagi jalali wajhikal karim wa adimi sultan. Allahumma sholli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Ya Allah, today, Tuesday, October 10, 2023, in these beautiful days, together here to bring about and collaborative scientific webinars with the theme Urgency of Implementation of Carbon Tax, organized by the University of Bhayangkara, Jakarta Raya, and University Teknologi Mara through online media. Make this webinar as a useful science assembly, as a medium of sharing useful ideas, knowledge, and experiences of scholars, researchers, and students of various disciplines. May the conference we organize today have benefit to our lives, broaden our knowledge, shine our ideas, and lead us to be successful, productive person. Ya Allah, guide and bless our hearts and our mind with the light of your guidance. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities. Help us to speak our mind clearly. Help us to listen to each other, respect each other, love each other, so that we are included to the blessed person. Ya Allah, protect us from unintended temptation, show us the right path, and give us knowledge and strength to perform good things. Equally, show us and make it clear the bad things, and give us knowledge and strength by them. Ya Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our doa. Amin. Ya Rabbal Alamin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi washabihi wa barik wasallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Yayan, for leading the prayer. May God always be upon us. Amin. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we regardlessly request that participants may use the background platform that we have shared in chat room. Is it okay? Thank you. And next, we would like to invite the Dean of Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Dr. Dewi apologizes because she is attending other activities, so she cannot attend this event. However, we have provided a 7 minutes video of her welcoming speech. Let's listen it together.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all participants, my dear colleagues, distinguished guests, and all my students. Praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, God the Almighty, that we can be here jointly in this very special occasions, the collaborations of Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya and the University of Technology Mara, Cawangan, Johor, Malaysia. First of all, I would like to extend our gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Noor Hazila, who is the head of faculty of Business and Management from the University Technology Mara, Cawangan, Johor, Malaysia. It is indeed an honor for me to also welcome our distinguished and honorable speakers, Professor Dr. Wilson Bukit from the University of Maranatha, Bandung, Indonesia, Professor Dr. Imade Sudarma from the Universitas Ubhara Jaya, Malang, Indonesia, Dr. Rosmawati Haron from the University of Technology Mara, Dr. Juliana from the University of Technology Mara, Cawangan, Johor. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank you for your knowledge sharing and the vast depth of knowledge of how to implement and experience the carbon taxes for implementations in our countries such as Indonesia. Now, I'd like to use this opportunity to express my gratitude and congratulate every one of you who have contributed your utmost effort to making this collaborative webinar such a successful one. Of course, I would like to discuss with you the crucial role that carbon taxes can play, a very important role to how we manage our future world. Therefore, as we gather here today, I would like to highlight the vital connections between carbon taxes and several of these goals according to the SDGs was established by the United Nations in 2015. There are, of course, 17 goals, and carbon taxes will be including the sustainable development goals number 7, 11, and 13. Of course, we would like to make our fossil fuel energy to be very expensive so that we can use the renewable energy, that we can produce renewable energy for all the society. And the goals of the SDG 7 is affordable and clean energy. The SDG 11 is sustainable cities and communities by reducing pollutions and greenhouse gas emissions. SDGs number 13, of course, sorry, for 12, is for responsible consumption and production by incentivizing energy efficiency and greener production methods so that we can promote more sustainable consumption patterns throughout society. And finally, for SDGs number 13, of course, that climate actions, change, and helping countries to meet their commitment under the Paris Agreement. We can take decisive steps towards safeguarding our planet for future generations. So, in conclusions, carbon taxes offer a promising avenue for achieving the SDGs and creating a more sustainable world. As we work together as academics, as scholars, as people from the universities, we should collaborate that we remember the potential of these innovative policies to drive positive change. And we develop ourselves as agents of the change. University Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya, of course, is collaborating with several universities, and University of Technology Mara Cawangan Johor, Malaysia is one of them. So to join and develop collaborations in student exchange, join webinars, and join researches. Therefore, I would like to extend my gratitude once again that we can develop our collaborations into a more fruitful collaborations in regards to all of this agenda mentioned before. Last but not least, on behalf of Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya, we look forward to receiving more prospective sites and stronger joint collaboration with the University of Technology Mara Cawangan Johor, Malaysia. And I hope this webinar can contribute positive thoughts and values for all parties, to the spirits and beliefs that this webinar we participate in today will provide mutual academic benefits. Thank you and congratulations to all of you who are participating in this webinar activities. So this webinar activity is officially open. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a successful webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dewi Puspaningtyasvaini, BSc MBA, for the welcoming. Thank you very much. And next, we would like to invite Dr. Nur Hazila Ismail. She is Head Faculty of Business and Management, Center of Studies, University Teknologi Mara Cawangan Johor, Malaysia, to deliver the opening speech. Yes, Ms. Nur Haliza, time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Tuti, Madam Chairperson. Maybe I have to make a little bit correction. My name is Nurhazila, and Nurhaliza is actually
Sorry.
our Siti Nurhaliza.
Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a common mistake actually. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah, and a very good morning, especially to Inspector General Policy, Prof. Dr. Bambang Kasono, Director of Ubhara Jaya, Dr. Dewi Pusapa Ningtyas Feni, the Dean of the Faculty of Economy and Business Ubhara Jaya, Dr. Amor Manunda, the Vice Dean of Ubhara Jaya, also Dr. Tuti, and also Sir Eri Teguh Prasetyo, which is the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Economy and Business Ubhara Jaya, I believe. And of course, to all our distinguished speakers and all participants, again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullah, and a very good, beautiful sunny morning from Malaysia. It is a very great pleasure, actually, Alhamdulillah, today we able to virtually meet, especially with all the eminent speakers and also the guests from both countries, Malaysia and Indonesia. Kita bukan orang lain, so apa khabar bapa dan ibu-ibu di sana? So I believe that all of us from different walks of lives, and we are here to share the knowledge and also the vast experience with everybody here. So this is the first time, I believe, the first international seminar in the history of our collaboration between Ubhara Jaya and also University Technology Mara Johor Segamat campus. So we are very proud to announce that this seminar is actually being conducted along with the cooperation under the MOU between Ubhara Jaya and our faculty, Faculty of Business and Management, Uitm Johor. And I take the opportunity, of course, to thank the person in charge for the collaboration for this MOU, Mr. Oswald, for his efforts in materializing such a beautiful relationship between the two great universities, Ubhara Jaya and also Uitm. So when we talk about carbon, we experience each year human activities release more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than the natural processes that can remove, which is we know that it caused the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to increase. So looking ahead, the global warming consequences of carbon dioxide emissions have increasing potential to impact our health and economy. While scientists all over the world predict that our emission of carbon dioxide will cause further warming in the future, and of course, it is actually at an increasing rate. So by having this seminar with the team of the Agency of Carbon Tax Implementation, this is, I look at it is as a serious commitment by both parties, and I believe this is a very good commitment in and efforts, early efforts in protecting our environment. Therefore, I hope that along the sharing, we will learn from the various presentation of our outstanding speakers, Prof. Dr. Wilson Bangun, Prof. Dr. Madi Sudarman, Dr. Rosmawati Harun, which is our licensed officer and also the lecturer of accountancy, and our beloved Dr. Juliana from our Department of Economy, Faculty of Business and Management. So I believe that the broad cover of this presentation related to carbon from fundamental research to educational applications, we highlight the interaction and explaining the importance of the implementation of the carbon tax in both countries. So to students, utilize this opportunity to expand your mental horizon in protecting our environment. I hope that today in this international seminar will inspire ideas and discussion around the ways that we can make our country a better place. So lastly, again, a very hearty morning to everyone joining us today. So I assure you that this seminar will prove to be fruitful and informative for all the members of participating. Again, thank you Ubhara Jaya for this giant international seminar. For that, thank you very much and Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nur Hazila Ismail. I is correct. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the nice speech. And this is officially open our webinar. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the main session, let's have a documentation. Please activate your camera, be ready on your screen, so we can capture the picture slide by slide. All right? Ready? Pak Ridwan? Okay. Please, Mr. Andri. Finish? Okay. Thank you very much for nice and lovely documentation. Now, let's continue to the main session. I would like to invite our moderator, Dr. Amor Marunda, SAMAK. Dr. Amor Marunda is a lecturer at Faculty of Economic and Business, majoring accountancy, Universitas Bayangkara, Jakarta Raya. Let's see his CV. Okay. Mr. Dr. Amor Marunda is Dr. Amor Marunda is a MAKCA. He is experienced for lecturer and also director and commissioner. Is this nice CV? I think, yeah. Okay, we can continue the Amor Marunda, are you ready? Okay, time is yours, Mr. Amor Marunda.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Dr. Tuti. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning to fellow happy webinar participants. Let us start by thanking to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for providing and blessings of health and safety so that we can get together for these webinars. We will talk about the urgency of carbon tax implementations in these webinars. And here I would like to introduce myself. My name is Amor Marunda, and I will be webinar's moderator today. To all webinars participants, let's get straight to the main event that we are most waiting for, namely the delivery of the webinar materials and also the discussions. And at the end of this, there will also be a question and answer sessions. After that, the presenter have finished all the materials. Webinar participants, before entering the main event, here we would like to welcome you to honorable guest speakers. Please, CP. Can you see the CP? The first honorable guest speakers is Bapak Professor Dr. Wilson Bangun, SA, MSc. He is from University of Maranatha. What is the city? Here we can see Bapak Prof. Dr. Wilson's CV. He is a professor of human resource management at Maranatha Christian University, and also there is so many certificate for him. And it is not enough to read all the CV. Maybe after tonight, if we read it. We very appreciate for Professor Dr. Wilson Bangun, SAMSC. There is so many experience from you, and we need you to give us all your knowledge and experience. And then the second honorable guest speakers is Bapak Imade Andika Dharma Perkasa, SA, SS, MKM, CLN. Yeah. He is from lawyers practitioners from Huayou International Minings, Hong Kong Limited. We see from his CV, Bapak Imade Andika Dharma Perkasa. He is practitioners from one of multinational company in Indonesia or international company. Welcome to Bapak Imade Andika. And then the third honorable guest speakers, Dr. Rosmawati Harun. She is from University of Technology Mara, Alam, Selangor. Yeah. It is her CV. Yeah. She is joining Uitm in September 2008 as accounting lecturers, and he has completed PhD in financial criminology at the University of Technology Mara, Alam, Selangor. Yeah. This is her CV, and thank you, Ibu Dr. Rosmawati Harun, yeah, and welcome to our webinars. Yeah. And then the last honorable guest speakers, Ibu Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Abdul Qadir. She is from University of Technology Mara, Cawangan, Johor, Malaysia. Yeah. Yeah, this is her CV. Yeah. She is senior lecturer at UTM Segamat Johor, sorry. And then education, Doctor of Philosophy from Malaya University, and then so many education background, and there is so many publication or books. Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Abdul Qadir. Welcome to our webinars. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, all the webinar participants. Yeah. Here we have 4 speakers in this international webinars, and now it's time to hear from our first speakers. Yeah, Bapak Profesor Dr. Wilson Bangun, SAMSC. He is a renowned expert on human resource management, and of course, he has so many publications and several books. Yeah. He has published several books and articles on these subjects. Yes. We know Bapak Profesor Dr. Wilson Bangun, yeah, and we thank you. You have joined to our webinars, and Bapak Prof. Dr. Wilson Bangun, also a chairman of Management Science Doctor Program, Faculty of Business, Maranatha Christian University. Okay, Bapak Prof. Wilson, you have 30 minutes to present your material. Please join me in welcoming Prof. Dr. Wilson Bangun, SAMSC. And now, please, time is your, Prof. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Amor. You have read my curriculum vitae is carefully. Thanks to Rector of Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya. Selamat pagi Pak Rektor, sehat selalu. Salam hormat dari saya. Especially, I would like my thanks a lot to Ibu Dewi Puspaningtyas, Paini BSc MBA, Dean of Faculty of Economics, Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya. It has invited me as a speaker at this very prestigious international seminar. Best regard to my colleagues at lecturers at Universitas Bhayangkara Jakarta Raya, especially lecturers at Faculty of Economic and Business, and to the organizing committee of the international seminar, as well as all the attendees. To my colleagues, lecturers at University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia, UTM was invited me a speaker at international seminar July 2023 ago. Pak Sumarno, thank you for giving me the opportunity to a presentation. My PowerPoint entitled Human Resource Development in Indonesia. I start my presentation. What is development? In general, development can be understood as a change in the direction of development in a certain aspect. Along the time, due to the increasing needs of humans will demand the development of technology so that humans will leave the old ways of doing activities. Please, my slide, next slide. Next slide. The first slide. Okay. Development is the responsibility of various parties to create and implement it in accordance with their competencies and capabilities. Indeed, development can be understood broadly depending on the perspective. The economic perspective, development as a physical reality as well as the determination of society to strive as hard as possible through a series of combination of social, economic, and institutional processes to achieve a better life. Development as a center of all aspects in the sustainability of a country's development requires the inclusion of development from various aspects, both physical and non-physical, such as the construction of facilities, infrastructure, and the mentality of the implementers. Regarding the topic, my PowerPoint, I will explain about the concept of economic development and economic growth. In general, people misunderstand it about these two aspects, economic development and economic growth. Some people say that economic development is the same as economic growth, but others say differently. Based on the understanding of the two concepts, the concept of economic development is usually used for underdeveloped countries, while economic growth is used for developed countries. Two concepts between economic development and economic growth are inherent in the development of human resources. Next slide. Next slide. In Indonesia, population classified into labor force. Back slide. Indonesian population classified into labor force and non-labor force. The labor force are the population aged 15 to 65 years old, while non-labor force are the population aged 15 years to below and 65 years old above. So that labor force mean as a human resource. Human resources is the basic capital of a nationhood, while physical capital and natural resources are only passive factor of production. A country that does not develop the knowledge and expertise of its people and utilize them effectively in the development and management of the national economy, the country will not be able to develop. To develop human expertise and knowledge can be achieved through the formal education system. Economies that human resource, there are knowledge and skill are the most important factor that determine economic growth, character and speed of social and economic development of a country. Human capital formation are the process of acquiring and increasing the number of people who have the skill, education, and experience that are decisive for the economic and political development of a country. This graphic show that labor force were 60.74%, while non-labor force were 32.26%. This means that the number of human resources in Indonesia were 67.74 in 2019, while non-human resources were 32.26%. Non-labor force population 15 years to below were 26.22%, while the non-force 65 years to above were 6.04%. This data show that population growth is much greater than the number of retired people. The data of the Indonesia Central Bureau and Statistics show that the average lifespan of the Indonesia population is 70 years. Thus, the average age of the Indonesia population after retirement is 5 years. This situation shows that the health factor is low in Indonesia. Next slide. And according of Asian Economic Community Blueprint, the labor of classified into skilled labor and unskilled labor. Skilled labor is workers who have the knowledge, expertness, or a specialized skill on formal education to have the senior high school graduate up to university or equivalent to it. While unskilled labor, the workforce with education of a junior high school to below, who are employed in production activities. This graphic show that in the duration 20 years, there has been an increase in skilled human resource workers is slowly. In 2000 years, the number of skilled human resource was 21.09%. In 2019, it increased to 35.95%. In 2019 years, the number of unskilled human resource was 64.05%. The situation in Indonesia, the number of unskilled human resources is much larger than skilled human resources. This condition show that the quality of Indonesia human resource is lower than that of Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand in Asian countries. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Several important concepts to consider when choosing human resource development or physical development. The experience of underdeveloped countries chooses physical development than human resource development. These countries borrow money to fund infrastructure development. Most of these countries fail to build infrastructure due to low human resources. In contrast, the developed countries generally choose human resource development, availability of good human resources. These countries are successful in building infrastructure. In Indonesia is currently focusing on human resource development to solve development problem in realizing Indonesian 2045 vision, namely to become a developed country, prosperous people, sovereign, just, and prosperous. One of the government's program is to improve the quality of human life. One of the government's program is to develop the human of resource. President Joko Widodo speech at the Majelis Permusyawaratan Rakyat Republik Indonesia annual session August 16, 2018 emphasized that human resource development is an investment to face the nation future toward advanced Indonesia. Human development is a very important issue. A good quality of human resources is the basic capital of development. The qualified human resources, the economy of a region can develop optimally and be able to compete with other regions both at the nation and global levels. Starting in 2020, the government plans to no longer focus on infrastructure development, but rather on human resources development. This is done as an effort so that Indonesian human resources are able to compete with other countries, especially in facing industry 4.0. Next slide. This slide, there are three reference that can be used in human resource development. There are Human Development Index, Human Capital Index, and Global Human Capital. Human development is a necessity for a nation because actually development is not only seen from physical achievement but also from the human point of view. This is in line with the criteria developed by United National Development Program, where development should not only be analyzed from economic growth, but also must be understood from the perspective of development. Human Development Index is introduced by UNDP in 1990 and published regularly in the annual Human Development Report, which explain how people can access development outcomes in terms of income, health, and education. This index will measure to quality of human life through measure of income, health, and education. Human Capital Index is CI. The measuring population productivity through indicator, there are knowledge, skill, and health. The Human Capital Index aim to knowing the government policies of the country to improve the health and education factors of its population so that they have the potential to become the workforce in the future. This indicator is used as a parameter to see the quality of human resources in a country to produce economically. Quality human resource will contribute to the economic development of a particular country. Then global human capital, they popularized by World Forum Economic. Okay? Human capital consists of the knowledge, skill, and health that human accumulate throughout their life, enabling them to realize their potential as productive members of society. Weaken and extreme poverty and create more inclusive societies by developing human capital. This requires investing in people through nutrition, health, education, job, and skill. Next slide. Next slide. So that human resource development is the process of improving the ability to increase the work productivity as a contribution to the prosperity. Work ability is measured through knowledge and skill. The work quality is knowing through work ability. For improving of work quality, a country could do through improving number of skilled human resources is to improving of education aspect. The graphic, okay, so that there is an increase in Indonesia Human Development Index, 66.53% into 2010 to 71.92 in 2019. This increase is slowly. Of course, Indonesia should be proud considering that the Human Development Index trend continues to increase year on year from 2010 to 2019. Now, Human Development Index Indonesia has been in the high SDI category, Human Development Index category. That means Indonesia same with Malaysia and Thailand. Then Indonesia Human Capital Index values of 0.53. This means that Indonesia born now until the age of 18 years old later can only reach 53% of their total maximum productivity potential. This figure show that Indonesia is ranked 87 of 100 57 countries, or number 6 in ASEAN. This condition show that investment in human resources in Indonesia has been weakening in recent years. Indonesia must improve its education and health aspect so that it can catch up with other countries in the world, especially Southeast Asia. Therefore, Indonesia must increase investment in education and health. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Back slide. Back slide. Next slide. Okay, the increased importance of the role of human resources. Back slide, yeah. In development requires increased investment to improve the quality of Indonesia human resources. One of Indonesia's development mission is the development of human resources. Therefore, the Indonesia. Okay. Okay, this slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Pak Amor. Okay. Global. Yeah. Next slide. Global. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. One of Indonesia development mission is the development of human resource. Therefore, the Indonesia government must prepare for the development of and early. Otherwise, Indonesia will lag behind other countries in the world and ASEAN. Next slide. Okay, global capital, human capital, global human capital. Indonesian human resources are not matched by an increase in education or skills. This situation is also accompanied by people who do not have the ability to keep up with or digital technology development in the industrial era 4.0. In the global human capital index, Indonesia is ranked 65 out of 130 countries. Similar to the World Bank version, Indonesian position is worse than the 5 Asian countries and better than the other 3 Asian countries. The difference is the World Economic Forum version placed Indonesia higher than Brazil, which is one of the bright member countries. Thank you, Pak Amor.
Thank you, Bapak Prof. Dr. Wilson Bangun, SMSI, for your insightful presentations. The quality and productivity of human resources should be supported by knowledge, skill, and health, which have an impact on the quality of human life such as income, health, and education. Then at the end, will improve human development, human capital, and global human capital. We are sure our audience has learned a lot from you today, Pak Prof. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your knowledge. You share out your knowledge and experience. We would like thank you very much from our University of Bayangkara, Professor Dr. Wilson Bangun. And hopefully we will meet offline, Pak Prof. Ya. Bandung and Jakarta is close. Is it right? Okay, thank you very much, Pak Prof. Okay, all the webinar participants. Now we move to the second speaker. He is an expert for legal practitioners and works for Huayo International Mining Hong Kong Limited. He is Bapak Imade Andika Dharma Perkasa, SE, SH, MKM CRA. Okay, Pak Made, you have 30 minutes to present your material, and now this time is yours.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Pak. Can I show my material? Oh, okay. Wait a minute, please. Let me share screen the material.
Langsung aja di sini.
Pak Made.
Iya, share screen-nya apa bisa dibantu? I have difficulty to share screen my material. Maybe can be helped. Okay. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank you for the Prof Bambang Karsono as director, Dr. Dewi Puspaningtyas Faini as the Dean of Fakultas Ekonomi, and the Chief Executive, Dr. Sumarno, and of course the Honorable Speaker, Prof. Dr. Andes Wilson Bangun from Maranatha University, and the others Honorable Speakers, Dr. Rosmawati and Dr. Mayu Sura from the University Technology Mara, Malaysia. I'm eager to learn more from all of you, and of course all of the participants, my friend at the Bayangkara Jakarta Raya University and Mara Technology University. This presentation schedule actually should be filled by Prof. Made Sudarma, my father, but unfortunately he was unable to do so. So me, Made Andika, I would like to try to share my knowledge as practitioner in the world of clean and green energy. Okay, maybe we can next. Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Made Andika. You can call me Andika or Made. It's okay. Actually, I hold the degree in the Bachelor of Economics also in accounting because, as we know, my father is professor in accounting. But my mother also asked me to do the degree in law. So I graduated in the economy and accounting, and now I'm focusing in the law as the corporate commercial law. That's why I took my master degree in Indonesia University as the Magister Notariate and others specialization. My past and current experience, I'm start in the KAP and BNI. Almost 10 years, yeah, I spent my experience in the Indonesian SUE, and now I'm joined the Huayu Cobalt in the green and clean energy. This one is the actually project strategies national, yeah, from Indonesia and China, because we do the joint venture in Indonesia to build the EV industry, Indonesia. But maybe in the future, I would like to back to the SUE Indonesia. Okay, next. Okay, previously I would like to sharing about the roadmap for those three strategic investment. Why we should aware for this one? Because very easy. Its business entity right now needs energy to produce or deliver the goods. But on the contrary, of course, energy production will sometimes also produce carbon, and this material is about the tax carbon is so related. Okay, next. Actually, our company is the part of a Project Strategic Nasional (PSN) by Pak Jokowi, and right now we will support to build the downstream strategic investment. This material is prepared by Minister Investment Indonesia. As we know, based on this data, Indonesia is inviting foreign investor to invest in Indonesia, especially in the projected downstream investment with total investment required almost 545 billion US dollar. This is such a big number, yeah, especially in the mineral coal, oil and gas, and plantation. But we will focus about our industry, my industry, especially in the mineral and coal. Okay, next. Okay, this one is the distribution map in Indonesia, which has the potential downstream in Indonesia. The downstream industry is quite popular right now, as we know, because this one will produce alternative energy or clean and green energy, and Indonesia have a lot potential to collaborate with the foreign investor who have the technology, who have the knowledge, and we have the raw material to join venture to increase the value of the raw material. Okay, next. This one is about the roadmap of the nickel downstream industry. The nickel downstream industry have the target to build the industry to become the 5th largest EV battery producer and the 2nd largest stainless steel producer. Okay, we can next. We can read it later. I think this is minimize to make it okay. This is quite interesting. Why? Because we can see about the multiple increasing value from the raw material, which is only previously we only export the raw material to the foreign. Right now we want to build all the producer from the downstream to the upstream to increasing the value from a one times into maximum 67 times. In my industry, we usually looking for the laterites ores or saprolite ores as the raw material to production finished goods such as like the battery. This value will increase up to 67 times. The increase the value is will certainly open up to many opportunities in Indonesia, such as the increasing the tax revenue, of course, for the government, opening new jobs, of course, for the fresh graduate, and the transferring the technology and the knowledge, all for the Indonesian. Okay, next. This one is the reserve here, the reserve and global value chain nickel, especially. As we know, Indonesia is the largest country in the world of nickel reserve, almost 21 million tons. Okay, next. Yeah, this is me. Right now, I'm working as the Indonesian leader for the Indonesian Perspective Legal Council. Actually, the Huayu is the global company that has been operating in the several countries, and Indonesia in the future will become the largest hub for development for EV industry. Why? Because my company already invest almost 30,000 trillion rupiah, and will be increased in the future. In the company, I specializing for the merger and negotiation and business setup and so on, etc. Next. This one, maybe we can understand how the battery or electric car producer, and we have the integrated industrial chain from the raw material and going to the smelter and going to the precursor, cathode material, and at the end we will have the lithium battery distribute to the global market electrical. Right now, we already have the cooperation like the Tesla or the N4. So the Tesla N4, they don't have the necessary or effort to build the industry in Indonesia. Why? Because they only need the lithium battery, and after that, they can focusing to produce the electric car. This one, the reason why the Indonesian will be stronger because we have the nickel reserve and we have the growing battery industry in the future. Okay, next. And also investment opportunity and regulatory challenge. Okay, we going to the carbon tax from the business perspective. Why this one is quite important for us? Maybe we can see in the two different C's here. The first one about the theoretical and the research that I looking in the established country like the US, Europe, and Indonesia. So on will be implement the carbon tax from a business perspective. The legitimacy, companies are required to comply with all applicable regulation, including the carbon tax. And also the stakeholder actually will push the company to follow the regulation to make stakeholder more trusting. As we know, previously I told if the global company such as with the Ford, Vale, Tesla, all of them is bonding to compliance about the ESG, environment, social, and governance is including the carbon tax. That's why the business perspective will conduct the carbon tax in the company. But for the companies, there is any dilemma because in the US, the dilemma to whether or not carbon disclosure can provide future economic benefit, especially considering that carbon disclosure can actually increase the tax burden for the companies. And there is any research in the established country, the creditor, investor might not view the carbon disclosure positively. Why? Because there is any negative reaction, the impact, such as the penalty can harm the company, equity value, and reputation. And also in the as the implementing carbon disclosure policies can result in the short-term shareholder losses. This policy is quite new in the developing country like Indonesia and generating public interest. Okay, next. And the second, we will looking the carbon tax from the investor perspective. Previously, we're looking for the business perspective. Right now, we're looking for the investor perspective. We do the small research in the established country in the US because it's already established about the carbon tax. The implementation of the HPP law is harmonisasi pengaturan perpajakan is considering mark a significant step to the government toward reducing the carbon emission. This law focuses on regulating the technical aspect of the carbon tax and related measure. As a result of this development, investors have shown increased interest to obtaining information regarding carbon and its disclosure. The impact of this event can be observed in the fluctuation of the return during the relevant time period. As we know, based on the research in the established country, the investor is volatile, quite volatile about the carbon tax implemented by the emittent, by the emittent or the company who already have the IPO in the capital market. But Indonesia is not sure because, as we know, the Indonesia investor is quite sensitive about the news or maybe the new regulation that's implemented by the emittent. Okay, next. So we also want to learn what is the carbon tax. Based my short perspective, the carbon tax is the nature are a fine, penalty, royalty paid by the company for any remaining excess of the carbon limit or cap after trading and offsetting carbon emission. As such, the provision of the carbon tax is recognized under PSAK 57 provisions, contingent liabilities, and the contingent assets. A carbon tax is a tax that arises from the amount of carbon dioxide a company produces. This is quite common because like my current company, when we also produce the battery or the chemical, we also will monitor about the SEG and the implementations about the environmental also. Okay, next. Yeah, this one also the small research about the history of the carbon tax. As we know, Indonesia in the phase one, the Kyoto Protocol agreed upon by 160 countries in the 97 marked a significant commitment by Indonesia also to reduce the carbon emission. The implementation of the carbon tax in Indonesia, as well as regulated by the Kyoto Protocol, has faced challenge due to political and economic issues. However, recent developments such as the passing of the HPP law demonstrate a firm step by government toward reducing the carbon emission, and the HPP law focus on the technical implementation of the carbon tax and its derivative. And as we know, right now it's already having the phase 2 presidential regulation about on national action plan to reducing greenhouse gas emission, and phase 3, the company should be concerned to the environmental through the carbon tax can improve the company image from the stakeholder perspective. And also my company, because we are the clean and green energy producer, and we will also conduct the regulation. Okay, next. Okay, maybe we can next in the next and then the implementation about the carbon tax, of course, will have the pro and cons. The first, implementing environmental taxation has the potential to create incentive for various economic sectors, particularly such as like the power plant to reduce the carbon emission. And the second, the company needs to bring in competent parties to calculate the value of the carbon produced. This is a cost incurred by the company. This is a open new opportunity, of course, by all these participants or in the future who have the expertise or competence to about the carbon or tax carbon will be needed by the company to calculate the carbon or monitor the carbon produced by the company. And the third, the company should be concerned about the environment through the carbon tax can improve the company image from the stakeholder perspective. And the last, of course, the carbon tax require companies to disclose carbon emission. This leads to various speculation if not disclosures. Disclosure is also a risk for the company. And of course, the big names companies like the Ford, Vale, and of course Huayu will also make it as the big concern. Yeah, we to comply all of the regulation will be regulated by Indonesian government. Okay, that's why we will, if the tax carbon will be implemented in the future, we eventually we have the pro and cons. We will also to comply and conduct the regulation in the company, because this one is will be give the more benefit to Indonesian government and the green community in the future. Okay, next. Next slide, mate. Okay, this is quite interesting. So how do companies solve this problem when the tax carbon implemented in the future? The first one, the carbon tax, of course, is a joint effort to reduce emission. So companies must support the government program. This is should be the joint effort between all of the business entity in Indonesia and the government also, and maybe and the environmental, social environmental, to monitor, to involve about the carbon tax. And the best too, the carbon tax is carried out as an administrative effort by the companies because it is acute cost. Of course, the company will be accounting again about the benefit. Yeah, it's not only about benefit or the profit oriented, but we also about the carbon tax is also to support about the reduced carbon emission and the clean and green energy in the future. And the last three, the company concerned from the environmental through the carbon tax can improve the company image from the stakeholder perspective. This is the same because the image or the reputation of the company is have the big number, big number or the big value. As we know, there is any case here about the one of the big names company cars in the Europe, as they already manipulate about the emission that produced by the car, and they now facing the legal dispute or dispute, and fines almost a very big amount. Yeah. This is could be problem in the future. That's why right now the big names of the company will be conduct and follow the regulation about this carbon tax and affiliates. Okay, next. Okay, at the end about the conclusion of this conference, for us, the carbon tax is something new for the companies. Of course, it is good for the common good, but it does not always work well from the company's perspective. It's always have the pro and cons, of course. And companies are faced with a dilemma between the cost and the future benefit. Many studies in developed countries, such as in the UK and US, show that companies that disclose carbon have a negative impact on their share price, of course, because right now my current company, well, you already have a public company IPO in the capital market in the two global market. So this become a spirit assessment for the company on the assistance of the carbon tax. One thing is for sure, the tax will provide additional cost for the company. But on other hand, of course, it will be give it a strong from the Indonesian government to reduce the gas emission and protect about the green ecosystem and community. Okay, next. This one, our recommendation. The first about the tax incentive. Of course, the company will continue to support the policies carried out by the government. It is good for the policymaker to also provide reward for the company compliance with the policies implemented. One of the reward given can be in the form of incentive. And the second, more comprehensive policies. This one is about reducing carbon emission is indeed a common issue. It is a good suggestion for the government to focus not only on the penalties, taxes, but also on other policies so that companies can reduce carbon emission without paying penalties. This means we need the participation of the Indonesian government also to co-creation about the reduce carbon, not only for the giving the penalties. Okay, next. Yeah, this one is for the several reference about the harmonisasi pengaturan perpajakan and also the carbon risk, carbon tax, and you can search more in this reference. Okay, next. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your time and your attention. That's all for my presentation, and maybe we can connect. You can search my LinkedIn also in this andikaperkasa.com, and we can discuss further about the career opportunity, clean and green energy, and others. Thank you. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Pak Imada Andika Dharma Perkasa, for your insightful presentations. We highlight the point from you regarding carbon tax, that almost all companies are faced with a dilemma between the costs and the future benefits, because the tax will provide additional costs for the company. So this needs a separate assessment for company on the existence of carbon tax. Pak Imada Andika Dharma Perkasa, we are sure our audience has learned a lot from you today. Thank you very much for your times and for your knowledge and experience. Thank you, Pak Imada. Now we move to the third speakers. She is from University of Technology Mara, Shah Alam, Selangor, Malaysia. And of course, she also has published several books, articles, and publications on her subjects. She is Mrs. Rosmawati Harun, PhD. Okay, Ms. Rosmawati Harun, you have 30 minutes to present your material, and now this time is yours. Miss Rosmawati, please unmute your speaker. Miss Rosmawati, you still unmute. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I hope I'm sorry because there is technical issue there because just now I cannot unmute myself. So first of all, thank you for the invitation for this webinar. Greetings to, I'm sorry. Greetings to the Inspector General Policy, Professor Dr. Bambang Karsono, Director. Kabar Bapak, harap selepas ini kita masih banyak lagi kolaborasi antara Ubhara dengan Uitm Johor. And then Dean for the faculty, Dr. Dewi Pusapaningtyas, Pak ini, Dr. Amor, Dr. Tuti, dan Bapak Eri Teguh Prasayanto. Okay, thank you very much for the info and other honorable speakers for the invitation. Here, I would like to share my knowledge. Actually, in the carbon tax in Malaysia, I am not an expert, and I guess I can cut short my presentation because Bapak Andika already covered half of my slides. So, by the way, so can we share the next slide, please? So we shall begin now. Thank you. Okay. So, firstly, let's see what carbon pricing is. Carbon pricing aims to financially incentivize emitters to reduce their greenhouse gas emission through two main mechanisms. First, carbon tax, and secondly, emissions trading. The carbon tax is actually a tax levied on the carbon emission that are required to produce goods and services. Carbon tax is intended to make visible the hidden social costs of carbon emission, which are otherwise felt only in the indirect ways, like more severe weather events. In this way, they are imposed to reduce greenhouse gas emission by increasing prices of the fossil fuel that emitted when burned. Can we share the next slide, please? Thank you. On the other hand, the emission trading system, or ETS, also called as cap and trade system, allocates each emitter with an emissions allowance. If an emitter, let's say emitter A, produce more emissions than its allowance, and another emitter, for example, emitter B, produces less emission than its allowance, emitter A can buy emitters B unused allowance to compensate for emitters A's emission, which exceeded its allowance. According to 2022 World Bank report, there are 68 carbon pricing instruments, including carbon taxes and ETS, in operation, which collectively cover about 23% of total global greenhouse gas, or GHG, emissions. Carbon price internalizes the cost of greenhouse gas emission associated with business activity by assigning a monetary value to each ton emitted. By doing so, it will send a price signal to business which can be factored into investment decision, incentivizing the transitions from emission incentive to low carbon alternative. Our chairman of Bursa Malaysia, Country Wahid, in his keynote recently, hailed carbon pricing as an effective method to reduce emission and encourage green investment.
He also highlighted the importance of the private sector to include climate-friendly policies that are reflective to the national sustainability targets. They are likely, he said, to result in direct operational cost saving as business take aggressive steps to reduce emission by optimizing resources. So in elaborating on views around the world, Tan Mei Ling, the country operating officer of World Bank, stated that 45 countries which are working with the World Bank have applied carbon pricing as part of their climate mitigation tool, including 7 of our neighboring Asia-Pacific countries. She elaborated that carbon pricing is seen as one of the most economical, efficient climate policy action. It shifts the burden of responsibility to the polluters pay principle. By putting a price to carbon pollution will definitely bring down emission, driving investments into cleaner options. This will bring the government and private sector to both play their parts. Next slide, please. So what is the situation like in Southeast Asia? Southeast Asia attention to climate change has traditionally trailed beyond major developed countries, but this region has in recent years started to prioritize decarbonization. This is driven by greater scientific consensus that Southeast Asia is particularly vulnerable to the impact of climate change, including physical risks such as rise in sea levels, as well as more frequent and intense extreme conditions, including cyclones, floods, droughts, and heat waves. So let's see what we got here for Singapore. Singapore is actually the first Asian country to implement a carbon tax. The tax applies to the scope 1 emission of all companies that emit at least 25,000 tons of carbon dioxide of greenhouse gas emission annually, starting from $3.70 per ton in 2019. While this quantum is relatively low compared to European jurisdictions such as France, which is $49.30 per ton. It is comparable to other Asian jurisdictions such as Japan, $2.40 per ton. Furthermore, the Singapore carbon tax will progressively increase about $37 to $60 by 2030. The higher tax rate trajectory provides a clear price signal for businesses to reduce their carbon footprint, while the early announcement gives a greater certainty to help business plan their investment in decarbonization strategies and technologies. Notably, the Singapore government has implemented financial scheme to support business decarbonization efforts and increase competitiveness. Singapore carbon tax currently direct applies to about 50 facilities from the manufacturing, power, waste, water sectors, which accounts for 80% of its total GHG emissions. This makes Singapore carbon tax coverage in terms of share of the country's total GHG emissions, one of the highest in the world, higher than Japan, around 75% coverage, and France, which is less than 40% coverage. Starting from 2024, Singapore will also allow companies to purchase high-quality international carbon credits to offset up to 5% of their taxable emission. Singapore has 2 international carbon exchanges, which enable the voluntary trading of carbon credits. So let's talk about Indonesia. Under its tax regulation harmonization law in 2021, Indonesia, the world's top coal producer, had originally intended to implement a tax carbon from April 2022, which would have charged 2.10 USD per ton on coal plants. Though higher commodity prices arising from the war in Ukraine caused an indefinite delay in the tax introduction, the Indonesian government remains fully committed to its implementation. As what have mentioned by Bapak Andika previously, in February 2023, Indonesia announces the launch of mandatory intensity-based emission trading system for its power generation sector, set to be implemented in 3 phases. The first phases, which is from 2023 to 2024, will cover coal plants whose production capacities exceed 100 megawatts, accounting for 81% of Indonesia power generation capacity. The subsequent phase from 2025 to 2030 will expand the ETS coverage into oil and gas plants, as well as other coal plants that are not connected to the national grid. So let's have a look for Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia have not adopted carbon pricing, but changes may be on the horizon. Malaysia and Thailand are considering putting ETS into effect and have already established voluntary carbon exchange. Both countries are also looking into implementing a carbon tax, although specific details have not been announced. Vietnam's revised law on environmental protection, which took effect in January 2022, legalized the establishment of a carbon market. It aims to officially operate a carbon credit trading floor by 2028, by which time business that cannot reduce their carbon emission will have to either purchase carbon credits or face administrative fines. So how does carbon pricing affect the business? Next slide, please. So why we must embrace green revolution? Okay, so in 2019, the world greenhouse gas emission hit a record high of 49.76 billion tons, putting us on the collision course with a climate disaster. Unfortunately, nature can only absorb a fraction of this emission, about 19 billion tons of carbon dioxide annually, which means that we need to take urgent action to reduce our carbon footprint. The excessive release of GHGs, particularly carbon dioxide, trap heat in the atmosphere and contributes to the rising global temperature, which have already increased by 1 degree. If we continue with business as usual, we could face a catastrophic of 2% temperature rise that could be irreversible, causing widespread damage and loss. Therefore, many advanced economies have already adopted aggressive emission targets and implemented carbon pricing mechanism like the carbon tax, the ETS, or both. The European Commission has also introduced the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CABM, which will take effect in 2023 to prevent carbon leakage and mitigate carbon emissions beyond the border. This will make products from foreign countries without carbon pricing governance becomes uncompetitive, driving importers to source goods from countries that do have the governance. The CABM currently covers products like cement, iron and steel, aluminium, fertilizers, organic chemicals, plastic, electricity, hydrogens, and ammonia. Initiatives to reduce carbon must be across the board to ensure the sustainability of the business and stay current with the global trend. Consumers in the modern days prefer green perceived brand as a choice and the way of living. Countries and companies that adopt carbon pricing and reduce carbon dioxide emission will have a competitive edge in global trade, which can help them become part of the low carbon value chain. Investors and stakeholders alike are increasingly prioritizing ESG, and businesses that embrace it and businesses that can embrace it can gain a competitive edge. Asian countries, Malaysia in particular, should seize this opportunity to become the preferred partner, vendor, or supplier of larger players, both locally and abroad. Next slide, please. So, next slide. Sorry. Next slide. All right. So, how's Malaysia? Malaysia towards green revolution. In Malaysia, the government has made an ambitious commitment to reduce the intensity of carbon emission, notably a 40% reduction compared to 2005 level by 2020 and a 45% reduction compared to 2025 level by 2030. As with other developing countries, the challenge is to decarbonize an energy-centric economy in the face of post-COVID-19 spike in energy demand, population growth pressure, and entrenched fossil fuel-reliant energy ecosystem. Malaysia has taken serious measures to combat GHG emission through a pledge to the International Committee as part of the National Determined Contribution Pledge in Treaty Conference of Parties, or COP26, and reaffirmed in COP27, the Malaysian government has committed to be net zero on emission by 2050 and reduce carbon dioxide intensity against GDP by 45% by 2030. With carbon pricing, Malaysia can steer its economy towards a path of carbon neutral growth, improving resource efficiency, stimulating investment in clean energy, and lowering emission. Malaysia recently launched its first voluntary carbon market platform where companies can offset their carbon emission and stay competitive in the global market. This initiative is part of Malaysia's effort to achieve its 2030 and 2050 carbon reduction targets. The Commonwealth Secretariat 2021 report revealed that Malaysia had 3.38 billion ringgit worth of CBAM-related export to the EU in 2019, with steel, aluminium, fertilizer, and cement being the most significant contributors. As the list of products subject to CBAM expands, the risk to Malaysia export will increase. According to the study by the University College London, UCL Institute for Sustainable Resources, Malaysia may lose trade worth over 112 billion ringgit to European countries if its exporters fail to produce goods with greater GHG efficiency. Therefore, it is essential for Malaysian manufacturers to adapt to the changing market conditions to remain competitive and sustainability. So that's the importance of why Malaysia needs to move towards green revolution. So implementing a carbon tax and ETS is crucial for Malaysian producers to remain globally competitive, and the launch of the VCM by Bursa Malaysia is the step in the right direction. However, there is still a need for ETS and carbon tax, which are already outlined in Pelan Kelestarian Alam Sekitar Malaysia 2020 to 2030. Malaysia manufacturers must prepare for this wave as it benefits both the business and the environment. So next slide, please. Malaysia is still work in the progress. Malaysia is one of the top carbon dioxide emitters in the Asian region, with a total of 220 million tons of carbon dioxide released in 2019. Malaysia and other developing countries have contributed approximately 39 to 47% of the world's greenhouse gas emission, leading to increased global air temperature, upper oceanic warming, pollution, degradation of resources such as air, water, and soil. In combating the climate change issue, Malaysia has signed both the Kyoto and Paris Agreement in 1997 and 2015, respectively, even though implementing a carbon tax can be challenging in developing countries like Malaysia, as it requires a delicate balance between economic development, environmental protection, society equity, and poverty reduction. One important step that has been taken by Malaysian government is to review and rationalize fossil fuel subsidies, which can help create a more level playing field for sustainable energy sources. For your information, Malaysia's economy remains dependent on fossil fuels, particularly coal and natural gas, for electricity generation, which accounts for 75% of national emission. Renewable energy use is still minimal, with solar, biomass, biogas contributing only 4.4% of total electrical capacity and just 1.1% of electricity generated in 2019, the latest year for which official statistics are available. While the government has hinted at the introduction of carbon tax for several years, it continues to subsidize carbon emission through its petrol subsidies. Through MIDA, Malaysia Investment Development Authority, MIDA has recognized the significance of reducing carbon emission and is providing various incentives under MIDA ESG initiative to promote economic activities related to decarbonization, circular economy, energy efficiency, and conservation. As compared to neighboring countries like Thailand, Indonesia, and Singapore, the development of carbon policy in Malaysia is lower, mainly due to the political and economic instability. The abolition of the 3-year-old GST shows how a feasible tax policy has successfully increased Malaysian incomes, was politicized, and created public resistance. The GST abolition was one of the opposition's manifesto commitment that won people's vote and resulted in the country being the first to reintroduce the SST. After the collapse of more than 6 decades of rule by Barisan Nasional, the new opposition coalition parties, Pakatan Harapan, followed by after Perikatan Nasional, they are very careful in making tax policy changes. While the current government may have planned to implement the carbon pricing policy, the development may be further slowed down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has forced many companies to shut down permanently, which caused a high unemployment rate and poverty. Besides significant healthcare spending, the Malaysian government has allocated 45 billion, approximately, has allocated 45 billion ringgit for a COVID-19 fund for the several socio-economic packages, including the economic stimulus package, a food security program, cash assistance to the public, and subsidies for small and medium enterprise. Although Malaysian income is projected to increase by 4% from 227 billion in 2020 to 236 billion in 2021, the target may not be achieved because of slow global economic progress. In 2021, the Malaysian Prime Minister assertively announced that the carbon tax is included in the 12th Malaysian Plan for 2021 and 2025. So a fixed charge will be imposed on the carbon content of fossil fuel, which forces energy and fuel providers to increase price. To date, however, the government has yet to announce the carbon tax framework. Little is known about the tax base, tax rate, tax administration, and the use of the revenue. The new tax policy also raises the question of how a carbon tax should be implemented amid the COVID-19 economic crisis, post-economic crisis, not only to reduce the greenhouse emission, but also to recover from the economic downturn. So, in conclusion, next slide, please. Undoubtedly, as a developing country, implementing carbon pricing policy in Malaysia is more challenging than in developed countries due to limited administrative capacity, social inequality. Furthermore, people in developing countries generally have more moderate environmental behavior. The carbon pricing implementation requires concerted effort from all ministries, business, and the public. The hope is that environmental protection will not be politicized, but rather become instilled as a national agenda and a shared value among the public. While a carbon tax might serve as a useful deterrent to companies to inhibit pollution, that still is only half the battle. In the long run, the green revolution will require investments across the innovation change. With that, I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rosmawati Harun, for your insightful presentations. We highlight the point from you that the carbon pricing developments will have financial implications for business operating in Southeast Asia. While a carbon tax and ETS policy will avoid carbon leakage, where carbon-intensive industry relocate to countries that do not impose carbon prices, then train civil servants to become carbon pricing experts, inform the public on the importance of policy implementation towards the national and global climate agenda.
Yeah.
Ibu Dr. Rosmawati Harun, we are sure our audience have learned a lot from you today, and we would like to thanks for your times. But hopefully we are always in health conditions. Thank you, Ibu Dr. Rosmawati Haruns. Okay, for the webinar participants today, I think we need to hear the next atau the last speakers. And then I think the audience is still enthusiastic about listening to the last speakers. She is Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Abdul Qadir. She is from University Teknologi Mara, Cawangan Bogor, Cawangan Johor, Malaysia. She is also an expert on climate change and green economy. Ibu Dr. Juliana has several published books and articles on this subject. Ibu Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Qadir, you have 30 minutes to present your material, and now please, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, salam seantero. Okay, the Inspector General Policy, Prof. Dr. Bambang Karsuno, Rektor Ubhara Jaya, Dr. Devi, Dean of Faculty of Business, Faculty of Economic and Business, Dr. Nur Hazila Ismail, Head of Faculty of Business and Management from Uitm Johor, Dr. Amir, Dr. Tuti, Sir Andrew Teguh, and sorry for the honorable speakers and all participants today. I'm Juliana Muhammad Abdul Qadir from Uitm Johor. From Uitm Johor, Economics Department, Faculty of Business and Management. Okay, my topic today is related to the carbon emissions. If you can see here, carbon emissions, sustainable economy and biodiversity conservations. The seminar today focus on the serious and important issues of the carbon tax, the urgency of the carbon tax implementation. Tax, as we know, is a policy that implemented by a government that impose to the person or parties for their revenue generation to the nation development and also operating purposes. But for the carbon tax is a very specific tax which is actually imposed to the parties, industries or companies that creates the emissions or externalities. So that is a punishment to them. So the topic today discuss the carbon emissions, sustainable economy and biodiversity conservation, which is interconnected and critical aspects of the addressing environmental and also social challenges. To start the discussion, we need to know what is a carbon emission essentially, what is referred to. Okay, the first aspect is the carbon emission. It's actually the release of the carbon dioxide, CO2, and other GHG, greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. It resulted from the human activities such as burning fossil fuel for the energy, from the transportation, and also resulted from the industrial purposes, and also from the deforestation. If you look at the picture here, it can see that the human activities, daily activities while they are cooking and heating, which can release CO2 at the atmosphere, but maybe a very limited effect. And also it can be seen here is the emissions come from the industrial or factories that release their CO2. And from the transportation here, which is from the road transport, either old vehicles or lorries and so on, and ship or marine emission, and also air emissions. Okay. If you look at the graph here, it shows the total US greenhouse gas emissions by economic sectors in 2021. The most contributor to the CE or carbon emission is come from the transportation sector, which is 28%, followed by electric power and industry, and also commercial, residential, and agriculture. Three sectors here, the first three sectors here are contributed almost 78% to the emissions, which is very large contributed to the emission release. Okay, the graph here shows the increasing trend of the CO carbon emissions, which increasing in trend. And the second graph shows the contributor, the country contributors to the CO2 emissions. It's leading by China, by showing the rapidly increasing currently, followed by US, EU, and also India. Okay, so from the graph, from the picture here, the down one here is the CO2 emission that we can see generated by a factory or industrial area that slowly will deplete the ozone layer, and it also will affect the global warming and slowly affect the climate change of the nations of the global in a global climate change. The global warming and climate change is actually where impacts the weather, sea level rise, and also disruptions or disrupt the ecosystem. Based on the effect that we've seen previously, is it a global agenda that required by all the nations to implement a holistic approach to integrate environment, economic, and social considerations? Okay. So reducing carbon emission is a critical global priority to combat climate change, to limit its potential devastating impacts on ecosystem, economies, and communities worldwide, and also to reduce the loss of biodiversity. From the picture, we can see the effects of that come from the CO2 emissions. That we can see here is image corals, rising sea levels, and give a high temperatures, and also changes in animal migration and life cycle that refers to the biodiversity. Okay, the second aspect of the discussion is the economic sustainability. Economic sustainability, which focus on the enhancing the long-term well-being, of a society by managing economic activities that considers the environment, social, and also economic factors for the future sustainability. It's actually the economic sustainability does not deplete the natural resources, and also not to harm the environment. The activities do not harm the environment, and also compromise the future generation ability to meet their needs. The picture shows here is a recycling attitude that can be considered by us to achieve economic sustainability and to protect the environment. Such as here, we can see that it uses EV, electric vehicles, solar energy, which is a renewable energy, and also it's used. We recycle the plastic, use biodegradable bag, and so on. Okay, the third aspect of the discussion is referred to the biodiversity conservation, which is very important nowadays, because it's actually referred to the variety of life on Earth, including different species of plants, animal, and microorganisms, as well as the ecosystem they form. It's actually consists of the most of the ecosystem in our nature. So the conservation for the biodiversity is involve effort to protect and preserve them from being harmed, from harm them, and the biodiversity is actually is very important to because it can it is an aspect of the clean air, water, pollination of crop, and it can observe the from climate change. Okay. So moving towards the three aspects that we have explained earlier, the carbon emissions, the economic sustainability, and also biodiversity conservation. Here is an interconnection between these three concepts. Okay, so what's the relationship between climate change and biodiversity? It shows a negative relationship, because climate change is a negative aspect, which is extreme. You can give an extreme event, and which in turn can disrupt the habitat and threaten the survival of various species and disrupt ecosystem. The second one is a relationship between economic sustainability and carbon emission, which is economic sustainability. We know that is the economic activities that not harm the environment, and how is related to the carbon emission. So with the implementations of the economic sustainability activities, the government or the nation can investing in the renewable energy sources and use energy efficiency concept and sustainable agriculture, which will reduce CO2 that lead to this climate change. Not harm the environment. The third aspect of the relationship is between how we relate the economic sustainability and also biodiversity conservation. which is very important nowadays as a sustainable land use planning is referred to the biodiversity, how we plan, how we manage the land, our resources management, and valuing ecosystem service that contribute to the sustainability. Moving toward the next criteria, or the next what we call the next issues is about carbon emissions, economic sustainability, and biodiversity conservation in Asia. Okay. Asia has a rapid growing populations, industrialization, and also diverse ecosystem. So how about the carbon emission in Asia? What's the issue? We know that Asia is a major contributor to global carbon emission. It's a large and growing economies such as China and India heavily rely on coal for energy productions. We have a rapid urbanization, increased use of transportation because of storage use, and so this will lead on resulted to the carbon emissions. Many Asian countries are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, which is, as we discussed earlier, will increase the sea level, extreme weather event, so disruption to the climate change. The second is how about the economic sustainability in Asia? The regional economic activities has often come at the cost of natural resource depletion, environmental degradation that affected the social equity. Promoting economic sustainability in Asia is very important that we can transitioning to more resource efficient and also environmentally friendly production and consumption pattern. It also includes investing in green technology and sustainable infrastructure. Moving to the third, which is a bioconservation in Asia, which is Asia is incredibly diverse in terms of ecosystem and species because of we are tropical rainforest. We have a tropical rainforest, coral reef, and unique wildlife, and we are surrounded with oceans, Indian oceans. And however, many of these ecosystems are threatened by habitat loss, pollution, over-exploitation, illegal wildlife. So we aim to protect these invaluable natural resources that need to promote sustainability, land use, and resource management practices. From Asia countries, the discussion process to explain the specific issues in Indonesia and Malaysia. Okay. So how about carbon emission in Indonesia? Indonesia is one of the most largest emitters of the greenhouse gas emissions because of deforestation, because of a large country that you have, and land use changes and emissions from energy and industry sector, of course. So deforestations, particularly from pulp and paper industry, that lead to the emission release. How about carbon tax in Indonesia? So it seems like Malaysia, we are introducing with our carbon tax, but not implementing yet, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm not. It's not correct. Okay. But Indonesia has explored various strategies to address emissions and also the concerns toward the Paris Agreement. So based on the Malaysian issue, the carbon emission in Malaysia We know that Malaysia is also facing challenges with the carbon emission, which is come from the energy sector, transportation, and distribution. Of course, we are tropical countries looking forward to the deforestation of a link to the agriculture as mentioned in working. Malaysia also vulnerable to the climate change impact, flooding and sea level rise surround with Russia. How a carbon tax in Malaysia is not implementing yet. It's under consideration, but we are concerned with the Paris Agreement in order to reduce the carbon emission that is from our industry. And we show the concern on the environmental issue. So based on the discussion, discuss the interconnection between carbon emissions, economic sustainability, and biodiversity conservation, the interconnections of the three aspects. These are the concluding remarks. In the context of Asia, these three issues intersect and can be addressed through a variety of strategies. Nowadays, we know that low carbon economy is very important. It's actually matched with a sustainable economy. In Malaysia, the low carbon economy will be released in 2030. We are going into that. And what the government or policymaker can do is reduce our reliance on fossil fuel, and also not to subsidize fossil fuel because it harm the environment. Maybe government can change to the other types of subsidies, maybe to enhance the economy or to enhance the public transport facilities. That we discussed in the here, which is the third one, is the use of sustainable transport, which is the government maybe or the policy makers maybe can improve the facilities, the public facilities in the nation to make the dependent on the transportation and their own transportation become low, so they reduce their CO2 emissions. Habitat preservation and also these restorations, protecting carbon-rich ecosystem. What else the government can, or we as a public can protect our forests. Use the renewable energy transitions, green infrastructure, provide sustainable agriculture that not harm the environment, such as use of organic so on, and also the international cooperation is very important, such as like today we have a discussion on the carbon tax, on the emission, and so on. This shows the cooperation among us, that we have concern on the issues. Okay, so therefore I come up with a conclusion. These are some conclusions that can be drawn from this discussion. As I said earlier, fuel subsidies is not implemented yet in Malaysia. Is under considering by each of the policymaker. By fuel subsidy is actually we help the public to reduce their costs of the transportation, reduce their cost of petrol, but it's actually can harm the environment, because of if government provide the subsidies to them, they will increase more usage of the vehicles. So instead of subsidizing environmental harmful fuel, an alternative approach involves the government redirecting subsidies to enhance the public transportation facilities. So government can use that budget to look forward at the public facilities of the public transportation facilities to upgrade them. The second is the introduction of the carbon tax is crucial because it has the potential at the minimum to mitigate the adverse external consequences arising from human and corporate actions. However, attaining this objective demand collective actions. The elevations of awareness and the education of individuals is very much important and significant. For now, as we have a discussion, is a good, but the awareness among people, the concerns from them, and also how it will affect their implementation and actions toward the environmental issues. It's the most important, how we can develop their behavior and attitude towards the to protect the environment. Therefore, our goals in reducing CO2 emissions, promoting sustainable economics, and conserving biodiversity are of paramount importance and require urgent attention to safeguard the environment, its natural resources, and also food security due to the production of due to the biodiversity conservation. With that, thank you very much for this. Thank you very much. So I end our discussion.
Thank you, Ibu Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Kadir. We highlight the point from you that highlight levels of carbon emissions contribute to global warming and climate change by trapping heat in the Earth atmospheres, leading to the rising global temperatures and associates impacts like extreme weather events, sea level rise, and disruptions to ecosystem. Therefore, we need the rules in reducing CO2 emissions, promoting sustainable economics, and conserving biodiversity are paramount importance and require urgent attention to safeguard the environment and its natural resource. Yeah. Ibu Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Abdul Kadir, we are sure our audience has learned a lot from you today, and we would like to thank you for your sharing your knowledge and expertise. Thank you very much, Ibu Dr. Juliana. Yeah. Okay, to all webinar participants, today we have heard from 4 amazing speakers who have given us different perspectives and insight on the urgency of carbon tax implementations. The first speakers, Professor Dr. Wilson Bangun, SAMSI, that focus on the human resource development in Indonesia. Then the second speaker, Bapak Imade Andika Dharma Perkasa, discuss about the urgency of carbon tax. And the third speakers, Ibu Dr. Rosmawati Harun, that focus on carbon tax. Then the last speaker, Ibu Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Abdul Kadir, that focus on carbon emission, sustainability, economy, and biodiversity conservation. Well, thank you to all the participants and for your attention. Now we get 20 minutes for questions and comment from the audience. Please type your questions and please also state your name before asking your questions. Yeah. Please go ahead, our audience. Is it? They have questions in chat. Ada? Ada? Saya baca dulu, baca dari awal dulu. Ini ya. This is from Lanang Adit Saputra. We know this is our student. This is from accounting program studi Universitas Bayangkara Jakarta Raya. He says he has. First of all, I would like to thank the presenter for the explanation about carbon tax. Let me introduce again. This is Lanang. Then the plans to implement a carbon tax concerns two important things. First is nature and second is people welfare. One thing that needs to be thought is how to implement a carbon tax and emission trading that does not burden small people. Because usually large industry throw additional costs at user. What can the government do to respond for this issue? Yeah, this is the question from Lanang. What can the government do to respond to this issue? Lanang, who is the speakers you want to ask?
Mr. Made.
Yes, Pak Made. Okay, Pak Made, this is a question from our student Lanang. The time is yours to explain, Pak Made.
Udah jamnya itu nggak bisa berbohong.
Maybe Ibu Ju, Dr. Ju, if you have time to answer these questions.
Yeah, hello, Pak. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I lost a signal. Maybe you please repeat the question.
Buka. Okay. Yeah, okay. What can the government do to respond to this issue?
So the question is about the response from government. That's
Yes.
correct. Okay. Actually, the government response is out of our control, of course, because we are in the business entity and we cannot control the for government action, but we can do the collaborate with the government time by time to implement it, the tax carbon in the first phase, in the second phase, and also in the implementation about tax carbon, of course, in our company. So maybe that's all, yeah. But in general, we cannot control in the government action, but we can do collaborate action, co-creation, collaborate, and we can examine the government on the regulation time by time. If there is any improvement or win-win scenario, we will do to give input for the better response to make our industry grow better, yeah, time by time. That's all, maybe, Pak, for our perspective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
May I add? Hello, may I add something on the how the government needs to do?
Okay, thank you. Please, Ibu Rosmawati, Ibu Dr. Rosmawati.
Okay, the suggestion that I have go through, some of the suggestion that I have come through is that the government need to train the civil servant to become carbon pricing experts. The government needs to inform the public on the importance of the policy implementation towards the national and global climate agenda. And apart from that, the government also needs to play the role to improve on for example, the public transportation systems and explain the strategies on how to assist the public and the affected business. So that's two of the ways on how government needs to play their role to in fostering the environmental environmental issues and the awareness among the citizens. I think that's all for now, for this time being. Yeah.
Thank you, Ibu Dr. Rosmawati Harun. Lanang, is it okay? Is this clear for you? Because we have answer from two honorable speakers, Ibu Dr. Rosmawati and Bapak Imade Andika. They have answered your questions. It means we need to improve the rules in reducing CO2 to safeguard our environment. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Pak Imade and Ibu Dr. Rosmawati. Yeah. And then, is it have any question from participant? Yeah. Let's show from. Yeah, we just how many questions? 2 questions. Yeah. Okay, this is from Mrs. Pak Aswar Timotius. The question is for Pak Made. Could you give example of possible legal consequence that can be taken to the companies that evade carbon tax if it were to be implemented? This is the question. Everybody can see this?
Yes.
Yeah, Pak Made, we have a question again from participants.
Okay, this is a good question. Thank you for the question. Of course, yeah, relating to the tax carbon should be have the consequences, legal consequences, if the company cannot conduct or implement it in the company. The first of all should be the administrative sanction. This is quite common in the harmonisasi HPP law or harmonisasi pengaturan perpajakan. Administrative sanction is could be consists of the letter of sanction or maybe penalties and additional charges and obligation that should be done by the company. But furthermore, maybe the ultimate or the highest legal consequence if the company is obey or cannot conduct the tax carbon, the government may consider to what we call it, yeah, the permit, yeah, the license, the business license of the company can be considered to be hang on or terminated by the government. That's all my perspective. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Imade, Pak Aswar. Pak Imade have answered your questions. Hopefully, is it already clear and clean? Yeah. We discussed about carbon tax. This means to be clear and clean. Is it right? Pak Imad. Okay, next, still have how many questions? Then, no? Okay. There is no, we just wait. No question anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the sessions or questions and answers already finals, and thank you very much, especially for our honorable speakers, and we would like to thanks for your knowledge and experience. You have shared to us. This is very important. We get the value, we get the knowledge from all the honorable speakers. The four speakers have shown us the urgency of carbon tax implementation. Is the importance of awareness, understanding, and contributing to reducing carbon emissions, as well as the red lines of human resource to face these jobs. They have also shared with us some of the best practice and resources to learn more or get involved in this carbon tax. We hope you have enjoyed this webinar internationals and gained some valuable knowledge and inspiration from our speakers. Before we end the sessions, let us have a final round to applause for our honorable speaker, Profesor Dr. Wilson Bangun SMSI, Bapak Imada Andika Dharma Perkasa, SMSKNCRE, Ibu Dr. Rosmawati Harun, and Ibu Dr. Juliana binti Muhammad Abdul Qadir. Okay, all participants, let's return to our MC, to Ibu Dr. Tuti Nurdiati. Thank you very much.
Thank you, this Thank you, Mr. Amor, for such a great moderation of today's webinar. And ladies and gentlemen, please give virtual applause and our appreciation to all of speakers today. Thank you very much. Well, next we will give awarding certificate to the opening speakers and the resource person. The presentation of awarding certificate will be guided by Dr. Sumarno SAMM. He is the chairman of this webinar. Mr. Sumarno, time is yours.
Thank you, Ibu Tuti Nurdiati. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much to the Dean of Ubhara Jaya, Ibu Dr. Dewi Puspaning Tias Faidi BSc MBA.
And then next. The second.
Thank you very much to the head Faculty of Business of Management, Center of Studies, University Technology Mara Cawangan Johor, Ibu Dr. Nur Hazila Ismail. Thank you. Next. And thank you very much, Bapak Profesor Dr. Wilson Bangun, MSc, for his presentation. And then thank you very much to Bapak Made Andika Perkasa for his presentation. Thank you. And then thank you very much to Ibu Dr. Rosmawati Harun for her presentation. Thank you. And thank you very much to Ibu Dr. Juliana Muhammad Abdul Qadir for her presentation. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ibu Tutik.
Okay, thank you very much, Bapak Subarno. Thank you. Alhamdulillah, this seminar can run smoothly. Yes. Okay, and to all speakers and moderator, please kindly remain on screen to receive virtual appreciation as token of appreciation. Okay. Okay. From the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Bayangkara Jakarta Raya, and Head of Faculty of Business and Management Center of Study, University Teknologi Mara Cawangan Johor. Continue with photo session. Please kindly remind us for a while to allow us to communicate during this moment for the end of this session. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Andri from Universitas Bayangkara. Okay, this is the end of the webinar. Once more, we want to thank you to Ibu Dr. Dewi Puspaningtyas, final BSc MBA, and also Dr. Nur Hazila. Oh, sorry, Dr. Nur Hazila Ismail, and to all speakers, Professor Dr. Andreas Wilson Bangun, MSc, and Professor Dr. Made SEMAK, and also from UITM, Dr. Rosmawati Harun and Dr. Juliana Muhammad Abdul Qadir. Okay, I invited the participants, ladies and gentlemen, as the closing ceremony. You are kindly requested to adjust accordingly to listen our Indonesian national song, Bagimu Negeri. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our international webinar event. Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Bayangkara Jakarta Raya, Indonesia, and University Teknologi Mara Cawangan Johor, Malaysia, Thank you for all your participation. Please accept our apologize for all inconvenience might happen during this event online. Keep up your spirit and let us hand in hand build a better human development through education. We hope we will see you again in a webinar with another topic. Yeah, I am Tuti Noryati. Good afternoon to all of you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih Prof.
Ya, terima kasih Prof. Terima kasih Dokter.
Terima kasih Bu Tuti.
Terima kasih Bu Dokter.
점점 무뎌져가는 너의 그 무표정 속에 점점 내려놓은 잠을 거울에 속삭이곤 해
Dr. Rosmawati dan Dr. Juliana, mohon izin kita foto bersama dulu.
아직 날 사랑하니 내 맘과 같다면 오늘은 떠나지 마 굳이 너여야만 하는 이유 묻지 마 그저 내 곁에 Stay with me It goes a little something like la 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 la